Welcome to the 12 Days of Zentangle, Project Pack No.22. Day 12. Wow, day 12.
We made it.
I know.
We finally made it. I'm Molly.
Hey, and I'm her mom.
And we're here to do a little bit of shading with you all. Which is
it's like my favorite part, right?
I like to take a moment just before I begin my shading practice. I like to gather my tools, kind of center my body, get myself sort of ready for my practice. And maybe that means pausing for a minute, thinking about what you're grateful for. Lots of shading tools for this particular project pack, huh?
It's a shady deal.
It is a shady deal, Mom. That's funny. Well, thanks for having or taking the time to join me here today, Mom. I'm so grateful for that.
Cool.
So it looks like we're starting here with the Van Dyke Brown, which is a nice, beautiful pastel pencil. And I'm obviously doing a similar thing to what Rick did, where we're finding that spiral in the beginning, and we're starting to put some layers down. And as you can see, we're just going to put a little bit of this pastel brown color right along the edge of where that spiral is. So you kind of have to find it first, and maybe you kind of lightly outline it with the pastel pencil a little bit, and then see them kind of
that helps a lot,
it,
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then just it's almost like we're just putting some material down right now and trying to locate that spiral a little bit. I'm going in with my tortillon.
Your brown tortillon.
Right, yeah, exactly. And then as you can see, it moves around quite nicely. So you may have already kind of gotten a feel for it because we've used it so many times. And then
the
ochre, putting a little bit of that down. So this shading process all along has been all about layers. So now we're hitting the other side of the spiral, kind of bringing that yellow in there, bringing that to life. And a little goes a long way with this, so you don't have to put too much down because you can always add more later. Beautiful yellow color really brightens it up. And so now I'm hitting the other end. Just putting the material down so then we can move it around with our tortillons. And, I'm sure you've realized this, but in these videos, we obviously jump ahead and skip around. There's a lot of opportunity for you to pause the video and do this at your own pace. Please don't feel like you're supposed to be doing this at the exact same pace.
You can't do it at the same pace because we kind of jump ahead.
We do,
because it's repetitive.
It's a lot repetitive. And obviously we're using this little piece of paper so that our hand doesn't rub up against all of the pastel material we're putting down.
So this one is a little bit different than the way Rick did it, just so everybody knows that we're shading in a different...
offering up.
Offering up different things and how it went together.
Yep. And it is nice to kind of sharpen that pencil in between. I use my All Art sharpener to get that nice point on the pastel pencils, because when you put down this material, it does kind of...
That's the big red.
Bigger red one, yeah. So using my tortillon to kind of move that...
this is your yellow tortillon.
Yes. And it really does, look at the difference between the little scribbles and then you take the tortillon. It's like, oh my goodness.
It's a magic wand.
It really
I love
is.
It, yeah.
Look at that. It looks like I'm barely touching it. And it's almost just magically morphing before your eyes. It is it's actually kind of funny, right?
I know,
it's
right?
So wonderful. Really beautiful color.
Really, this palette appeals to me. I'm enjoying watching it come together.
So harvesty, or maybe southwestern desert and stuff. So pretty. All right, so I'm just kind of touching a couple spots back in. You can always go back in and be like, I need a little bit more here or a little more there. Definitely trying to relocate that spiral feel. Now I'm going over the yellow with that Van Dyke brown, and look at that under the jelly roll
it's
coming
appearing.
alive,
Isn't
right?
that fun?
Isn't that cool? It's such a neat texture. And that was a surprise too, because Martha had tangled this and I had come back and shaded it, which was a little bit fun. We explored this and we discovered this really cool layering technique where the jelly roll kind of came back, and it was just a really delightful surprise. So beautiful. So many different layers. I think many times in this project pack, because we used a pastel pencil that was the same color as one of our jelly rolls, we got some really neat results, nice layering effects. So this time with that Van Dyke brown, we actually just went in between the spirals. So we're kind of trying to create a little bit of contrast where the yellow stays where the spirals are and this brown is kind of in between. Sort of just making some sort of a decision on what you're going to do and then repeating it. Mm-hmm. Lots of repetition here.
There's so many options, and it's not just one way that, exactly. I think there's as many ways to shade as there are to tangle.
Oh, I know. And this project pack really allows us to do a lot of, I think, exploration with that. And I'm hoping that we see some people that have done some other ideas, mm-hmm. that weren't here. Maybe mm-hmm. they had a green pencil and they were like, let's see what happens. Yeah. You never know. We always sort of challenge you to take a leap and explore things that we aren't doing, and that's fun too. So again, we're going back in with the graphite pencil now, and still going back to sort of find that original spiral. So I'm going back, and this is pretty dark right here, but careful, and just trying to figure out how I can bring that spiral
back to life.
Back to life, yeah. Sort of adding in all these layers, and
all I can think of, and I think about this all the time, is watching Da Vinci paint on a canvas. It wouldn't be just one pass through for a shadow. There would be 5 colors in the shadow, mm-hmm. or the cool tones and the just
the layers.
Yeah, layers and layers.
Layers and layers. So I am careful to, we shaded the underneath where the spiral was, and then I'm shading the edge, but I wait a little bit to start that, because I want that original part to be really bright. So I kind of started a little bit down on the spiral and then continued my way around. Then again, carefully working it with my graphite tortillon. Look at these little textures coming through from that jelly roll, like layers, right? Just so gorgeous. Just carefully adding a little more here and there to sort of find those layers.
And we haven't really talked about it, but these white poke leaves popping up in this exuberance that only the white can bring, like uh-huh. that, and the plainness of it contrasting with the complexity of the rest of it.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I love that part of it. Trying to go, in and out and trying to make it pop forward. So now I'm adding a little bit of my white charcoal, and I feel like I may have over layered it in the beginning there, so it's not popping as much as I wanted it to, but I kind of kept working with it and trying to get it there. But,
I can see it coming along.
It's coming through. Sometimes when you get so much layers of material, it doesn't come through as much. But I think I persevered and came through. I love that, just that simple, beautiful highlight you get. And just working my way. Mom, I don't know if you find this, but with my white charcoal, I feel like it almost acts as its own tortillon.
Yep.
Kind of work it in, and then in sort of a buffing.
And because it's not as pastel-y, there's a creaminess to it that you don't really have to work it into the paper. It like you said, it serves as its own, and it maybe not. You don't have to take a tortillon to it.
Yep. Right.
I agree.
So I'm just going back in, like, as my mom was saying about these beautiful poke leaves being so stark, I'm trying to even create more contrast with that and doing sort of a little bit of a back shadow to push it forward and make everything push back. So a nice dark shadow all around it with the graphite. A lot of layers in general and a lot of steps and layers to the shading process, which is exciting. Really fun. Oh, look at that, Mom. What do you think? Love it. Really, really beautiful.
It almost has like a wood finish, like some of Nick's darker shades of beautiful.
Like old mahogany or something.
Oh, yeah.
Totally. And I was observing and then coming back in to be like, oh, I could use a little more, contrast here on the end. I love how the spiral goes on to the other sheet. Really cool. Like, what else can I add?
I know.
Yeah. So pretty right in the beginning with those yellow tones. Awesome. All right. One more to go. Okay. So again, just know that these are going to take you a while. So take your time. Don't rush through them. Pause in between. Take breaks. Give yourself a moment here and there. Using the same materials as we did on the last spiral. Again, the 3 different tortillones for the different pencils. Might even need one for your white, but as we said, I sometimes don't even use one for the white.
That piece of paper that really helps when you're working on such a big piece.
Yeah, I did use that a lot. So this time we're going to start off with the yellow. Kind of figuring out where to begin, right? You're like, how am I going to do this one? This betweed was a fun one to do. I was happy to.
We haven't done that in a while, right?
Yeah, and it was funny
kind of resurrecting it.
I know. I almost kind of used it twice. We used it in an earlier tile as just a little component, and then brought it back here as a. So I'm really just putting a little bit of material, this ochre material, in these little corners.
Just for a different shading technique. Yeah. Just so we're teaching you so many techniques that there isn't just one shading technique,
And as Mom, you said earlier, it's really like treated as a tangle. So it's like, okay, so we're going to do this step and we're going to do it in each place and we're going to go through our routine. Then we're going to pick the next step and so on. And so it's really all a formula, which is really exciting.
I like to just watch you do it. Yeah. It's almost like I'm doing it.
Right? Well, it's funny. You get so sort of into what you're doing that you sometimes forget. And then you're like, oh, wow, I did do that. So you all have probably noticed these videos are done in different ways. Sometimes we record our voices as we're tangling and we edit the videos that way. And then sometimes the videos are recorded first and then we do voiceovers, and we do them differently for different reasons. And I usually am recording as I go, and today I'm voicing over with my mom. So this is kind of fun for me. It's a little bit different than the way I usually do it. So I think enjoy.
You have a chance to, especially since you did all the drawing on it, you can think back on it. Yeah, I meant to say this, but I didn't get that. And look at that.
I can't point at anything though.
That's true. That's true, because I keep pointing and my finger doesn't appear there.
So now I'm going back and sort of trying to discover that spiral again. And in the beginning, when we were putting the yellow down, we were ignoring. We were not ignoring. We were paying attention to my little posts or whatever. And here I'm kind of ignoring it. Looks a little messy, but don't worry, it'll come back alive. So just, again, putting the material down to create this. It's almost like a stain, right? We were using the furniture analogy earlier. It is. Kind of goes on top. And then, again, my magic wand here goes in. It really, the pastel pencils, a little goes a long way. So if you're new to them, you might explore just using a little bit and then play around with adding more. And it's hard to see on camera, but I vary my pressure. So when I'm closer to where the material is, I might press harder. Ooh, this little trick I use.
Ooh.
I flip it over a lot when I...
To make it feathered more?
Yeah, my tortillon's got too much stuff on it. I'll turn it over to just really buff it out without having...
That's kind of an artsy sort of move. I like it.
It's so artsy-fartsy.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mom. Appreciate that. Yeah, so it's just kind of like adding a little bit around these beautiful little poke leaves, and it looks like my hand's going 1,000,000 miles an hour, but it's really not. And you'll get a feel for sort of all of this, and
you will go back, and days later and say, "Oh, I wish I had done that." Well, there's no reason why you can't. So.
Right. So again, trying to find that original spiral. You probably can see yours better than even on camera. So I'm just locating it, and there it is. Nice, beautiful, kind of dark bit of graphite. And again, you can always go down in layers. You don't have to.
Well, they start to look like a creature. Like look at the one on the left. I was just going to point to it, and it almost seems like it's alive and coming up closer to you where it spirals in.
So again, I sort of, when I'm doing the outside, I don't start when it's all furled up. I start a little bit further along because you want to keep that highlight where it's all curling up. That's a little trick I learned. If you add the graphite there, you're going to lose that highlight. So
right.
What's great about learning highlights and shading is that you realize they're both really important. So you have to be careful not to let one dominate, So as much as I love shading, I know I need to allow space for the highlights, which because they kind of honor each other and respect each other. I love the layering of the brown and black. It's so rich. And just allow yourself to get lost in the strokes of your shading. Just as you do the ink, it's like a different phase of your practice, a different sort of, it's almost like one is the cardio and the other one's the weight training. You're like, in a different phase.
You're way past anything that I ever think about, Molly. That's...
Well, I'm trying to think of another. One is like the instrumental and the other is the voice, maybe. It's like,
Yeah, that could be it. Soprano and bass.
Yeah, that's all. Really beautiful. So again, I wanted to add some more like warm tones. So I'm taking the yellow pastel and just punching some on top of that. Like this is a fun layering trick. And I think it gives it a little sparkle, right? Just pulling it out a little bit. And you'll figure out what works for you. Like if you want to, there's my little turn it over trick. If you have too much material on your tortillon, just pop it over. Buzz it.
They're going to love that.
Yeah, I know, right? So pretty.
Learning new tricks.
I feel like these are so sophisticated. I mean, I have to be honest. This particular set of tiles, these last four, Rick has probably seen me, and I know Stephanie here at work has been watching me. I just go and look at them.
Yeah.
And I'll be like...
It's like looking at your babies.
I just love these. They're so beautiful. And then I just kind of like look at them half done and look at them,
You have to be able to admire your own work. Step back and enjoy the creative process.
Speaking
look at that.
So pretty.
Wow.
So pretty.
Wow.
Yeah, having an extra piece of paper around is good. Having a sharpener around, that's helpful too. And then, of course, the white. And like I said, with all the material we're putting down, it's like by the time the white comes around, it's a little bit You may be more thoughtful than I was to leave space for the white, but it's showing up a little.
I don't know.
It's
I can see
right.
it. I can see it.
And then just, and look at how it really pulls that out, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, so beautiful. So beautiful.
Now you're being a little aggressive here. Yeah.
Mom, sometimes it's what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Look at how
yeah.
Pretty. So pretty. Oh, and because you're never done, I like to go back and look at the whole piece kind of all put together. So, sticking all 4 pieces together and seeing what we have here as a whole, which is exciting, so exciting. And the washi tape is nice, or a different kind of masking or something, or that will come off easily. Wow. So really just
takes
checking,
your breath away.
I know,
Yeah.
checking out where we're at. So I'm, putting in a couple other, Rick gave me permission to go back into his if, once we had it all together. So I was just adding a little highlight there where the spiral, not even needed all the way around, just kind of putting a little bit right where that spiral is. Just adding a little bit of love. And it's never just, sometimes it is one stroke, but it's like a bunch of little strokes that kind of just find that sweet spot. Little back and forth. So pretty. And then maybe just a little highlight on that one too, just to kind of play around with that spiral piece. So pretty. I really love the 4 tangles that were picked for these spirals. They complement and also have strong independence.
Well, you have 2 curvy and 2 straight lines.
Right.
Right?
Well, I never thought about it that way.
Yeah. I think sometimes when we're choosing tangles and shapes and stuff, we automatically have that balance of, of curvy and straight, light and dark. There's, there's a balance where you would do 1/3, 2/3,
So beautiful. When we're working through these ideas, we often do a lot of sort of explorations, which I'm guessing you maybe will show some of those in the wrap-up video. And you learn things from different things. You try things and say, this works, this doesn't work. And I played around with a couple of different things with this portion of it, but we all decided when we were looking at these tiles how much we loved those poke leaf, just kind of like unshaded. It was a beautiful contrast. So in the end, we decided to just leave them and then add a little bit of shading to these beautiful, like, corn on the cob pods. I don't know what you want to call them. They kind of look like...
the thing is that the untreated poke leaves is a statement, artist statement to, unexpected things.
Definitely. But you know what? If you're looking at your tile and you're like, I think I'm going to paint my red and I'm going to do this with them, then
you can do anything
you want.
And show us how it looks so we know.
Because it doesn't, just because we chose this one way doesn't mean that you have to do it that way. So this last step is definitely something that you'll want to think about whether you want to do it or not. It's kind of a little scary. And I decided to do it because I just wanted that extra pop on this particular set. But you might wait and say, I really like the way mine looks. I don't think I'm going to do this. So as you can see, I have my micron in my hand and I'm going back in and just basically revisiting the edges because I just wanted a sharp line there. You don't have to do it. Definitely don't have to do it, but I was pleased with the outcome. I was just using my 01 and kind of wanted to hold in all those pastel lines. But again, it's totally optional. And once I do one, you can kind of see, the difference. Kind of play around with how that would work on your tile. Mostly what I was trying to do was like this area right here felt like the two different spirals were
or they were losing
on
their
my
edges,
tile
yeah.
or losing their edges. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to play around with like bringing some of that ink back to the foreground. We've put so many layers of graphite down, so I'm going to see what happens now. So there's no rule that says like once you're done with your pens, you may not touch them again. That's definitely not the way we roll. So again, just one option. Don't have to do this, but check it out and see how it works on your particular composition. With pencil work, you can see it gets like, has a more like fuzzy edge. And I was kind of, oh, see there how that looks? Kind of pulls it all together. And then of course, because I can't stop, I was like, now I'm going to put more shading down after I've put my final touches of micron down. But that's what I do. I kind of am like, oh, so then you get the contrast of the two spirals sort of next to each other. Separates them out a little bit. So fun. And you'll do this too with yours. You'll kind of add a little ink, add a little shading, going back in, playing around with contrast here and there, turning it this way and that, and seeing where you're at. Wow, so pretty. Yeah,
This is like they're alive.
Yeah, I say it all the time, but every project pack becomes my new favorite. And this one definitely is my new favorite. I love Project Pack number 22. Thanks for joining me, Mom. Check out our wrap-up.
See you later.